Hey, somebody needs to turn your computer off and turn it back on. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV. You know, the sheer variety of power sport products at Tucker ATV, it just blows my mind. They have the Hustler turf equipment, all the entire line of Echo power tools, and of course, Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs. They have the big Polaris side-by-sides, even bigger Ranger Cruise. And you have to see the showroom. It's taxidermy, antique displays, and an indoor porch with its own porch swing. It's got comfortable chairs, television, and free coffee. So stop in, meet Shannon and Lisa Tucker. They treat customers like family, which is why folks from 14 states have done business with Tucker ATV. Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama. Tucker ATV, the small town business with a national reputation. Observations and answers. That's what we do here on The Professional Noticer. And as you know, we love it when somebody comes to the table with both. And we have that today. We have, if I say an old friend, that doesn't mean like you're old. It's like, so, but an old friend doesn't mean an elderly friend. But a friend of many years.
Many decades.
And somebody that I admire. I mean, I'm just a huge fan of this lady. Please welcome Dr. Barb Rembiesa, or as I call her, Dr. Barb EQ. Yes, Dr. Barb EQ. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Loving the weather.
I know. You're down here from Canton, where it was 47 degrees in August.
Yep, record low. Record low.
And now you're here, and we're all happy. It's only 90 degrees. Wow. It's fallen all the way to 90. We're like walking to our cars going, doesn't this feel great? This feels like fall, doesn't it? It's like, oh God. But
beautiful weather. Beautiful place.
Now, let me tell you who Dr. Barb is. If you are new to the program, this is like your third.
I've been on here a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, so she and Michael Perry are our most visited guests. We must like y'all better than everybody else. But Dr. Barb is the founder and CEO of IAITAM, IAITAM, International Association
of IT Asset Managers.
IT Asset Managers. Okay, let me just tell you something. If you don't even know what that is, I don't blame you. All right. I told the boys when you came for the first time down here to visit us, we'd worked together for several years, and you came down, and the boys were, I think, high school, junior high school.
Yeah, they were young.
Yeah. And I remember saying, okay, you guys have grown up knowing singers and actors and speakers and politicians and authors and business people, and you've met some very successful people. But the lady who's coming tonight created her own industry. And that's what still just is amazing to me. That's what I always tell everybody. I said, let me tell you about Dr. Barb. You know, you've seen people be successful in an industry, but you're the only person I know who created an industry. So explain what this industry is.
So it's the management side of technology. So when technology started coming into businesses, it was like tentacles of an octopus. And it took over every desk within every business. And we're at the point where you can't have a business without technology. So if you're not managing that technology to bring value back to your organization and reduce risk, then you need us because we need to help you do that.
Right. And you always say if you're not managing your technology, you're not managing your business.
Correct.
So
or your country, or your city, or your state.
right.
We do a lot of business with governments all over the world. We're in 126 countries now. We do training all over every day, every night.
And let me tell you something. You can go on the ITAM website, IAITAM.org, and just click on the client list. Click on the membership list of who her clients are. It's shocking. And the first time that I really had a grasp on, because you're close to 100,000 clients, aren't you?
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, and I had said years ago, I said, if you do this right, you're going to have the greatest client list that anybody has ever had in the history of the world, and you're there. Go and look at this. The first time I had an idea of how big your client list was we were you were here, and you and Dave were here, and I had a client that had texted me having some meltdown computer wise, blah 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 blah, and I said, when I got off the phone, I said, do you know what this is? And you told me exactly what it was. And I said, are these people clients of yours? And you're like, I'm not really sure. Here, you can check and see them. And so you give me the client list, and I start thumbing through, and you said, are they there? And I said, I'm not out of the A's yet. I'm not out of the A's. Give me a while. But because the clients, her clients are like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Instagram, NASA, Yahoo, Sony Pictures, the Department of the Navy, the Department of the Army, the Department of the Interior,
White House.
the White House. Did you say NASA?
NASA. Canadian Space Alliance.
United Nations.
I
mean, it's like, I'm telling you, it's not just Coca-Cola and Walmart. It's everybody. And so, but when in your early days, you had a vision for companies needing somebody to coordinate their technological assets, because you worked for a company that Microsoft sued, right?
No, I did consulting for companies that were under audits.
Okay.
And back then it was software audits. Prior to that, I was in mergers and acquisitions. So doing the audits, it's like, well, we count tables, we count chairs, we count buildings. Why are we not counting our technology? Because it's so important. It's so expensive. I've seen mergers or acquisitions happen, and they didn't properly transfer the licenses, and it cost them tens of millions of dollars on top of whatever the acquisition cost was. So it's very important to understand what you have, where it's at, who's using it, when they're using it.
And there were people getting sued, though, because like somebody would buy a license, and then they would share it with the cubicles around them, which you can't do. And so these CEOs of these corporations were getting sued and facing federal crime units, and they didn't even know why they might be going to prison.
Correct.
They didn't know what they'd done. And so your famous statement to one of the people who was suing people that I've always remembered is, you said at some point you're going to have to educate and not litigate.
Correct. And
Because you can't sue everybody.
Yeah.
Because they don't even know what they're doing.
So ITAM is an educational company as well as a membership organization. So we are educating on how to properly use those licenses and the hardware and the other technology that we have. Companies, it was like driving down a street without a speed limit sign, because they didn't understand Title 17, which I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Yes, of course.
You own copyrights to your books. You don't want somebody else using those.
Right.
So it's the same thing with software publishers. They have every right to protect their copyright. When you buy a piece of software, you're not buying that software. You don't own it. You're just buying the right to use it and use it properly. So in the beginning...
Like you're buying a book to read, not a book to copy for your neighborhood.
Correct. So in the beginning, people didn't understand that as far as technology goes. So that was our first class, our software asset management class.
And so so people can get a degree now in asset management. And these companies, like how many asset managers does the average big company employ now? Like
it depends on how many assets they have. And since the industry has matured, they've kind of splintered that job. In the beginning, it was whoever was standing by the water cooler said, hey, can you count how many computers we have? We're under an audit. Now we're becoming more mature, especially with different technology coming out like AI. And that's going to help us manage our licenses, manage our hardware.
Right.
We have a course coming out very soon on AI.
But companies might have as many as 20 asset managers.
Or more. Or more.
Okay. And these people, they have a degree in asset management. And because you wrote
they have our certifications.
Yeah. And you wrote the curriculum, you're the only certification in town. Worldwide, yes. And these people can only hire somebody who's certified. I mean, you just look like this just average little, Midwestern housewife. And I mean, you're just like, you could be a Bond villain if you wanted to. I mean, I remember asking you, if somebody was saying, I was seeing these congressional hearings and somebody saying, "Oh, they destroyed the emails. They destroyed the emails." And I said something to you, and you go, "I can get the emails."
We've tracked down hard drives.
Wow.
So that's all part of the management of the assets. That you can't just lose a hard drive. Because if you're tracking it and tracking how it's disposed of, you'll know exactly where it's at and what stage, and you'll be able to know exactly where it's at. So,
what was the story where you got some computers one time and the State Department or the Pentagon thought they had...
Actually a copier, which has a hard drive in it and stores data. People don't realize that those big copiers actually store data.
So you called the Pentagon.
We called the State Department.
And they didn't believe you.
They just told us to throw them away until I started telling them what we had. But there was a copier. There was a part that broke. They removed it, and then somebody fixed it, and it came up refurbished, resold. And when it was plugged in and actually put on a network, whatever happened, that's the techie.
Matt spewing out classified material.
Yes.
And my little Midwestern housewife friend. And so when you call them and you tell them what's happening, they're like, "No, that can't be happening." It's like, well, how would I know what I'm telling you?
Yeah. That was General Petraeus. Yep. But that's how important it is to understand what your technology does, where it's at, who's using it, who has access to it. If you think about the pipeline shutdown, because they didn't know where certain things were, they had to shut down the whole line. Whereas if they were managing, they could have taken a different route.
Huh. Now, isn't there a story, and if you can't tell this, maybe I'm bringing something up I shouldn't bring up, but isn't there a story about you guys catching a spy?
No, well,
out in California?
There is, I wouldn't say spy per se. There was hard drives being removed and dead hard drives putting into boxes. That's back when we had the computer boxes, and the cleaning crew would remove a hard drive, put an old hard drive in. Whoever came in would have just a black screen and call their techie person. They'd put in a new hard drive and be good to go. And it
But
went
the
on.
cleaning crew was hauling out classified information.
Yes, on the hard drives.
What do you call that? I call that spying. I mean, you got a cleaning person driving a Rolls Royce because he's selling used hard drives.
Yeah, it was actually our fighter pilots' information, from what I understand. I'm not classified to know what was on it, so
But you caught it.
yeah.
That is just hilarious.
Because it's not the box that you want to count and protect. It's actually the data that you want to protect. So every hard drive has a serial number. When you're tracking your information, you should know what's in there. And again, how it's being used, where it's being used. We've kind of evolved from that place that we were back then with technology. So,
right. One of the things that I have never forgotten that you told our boys when they were in junior high school, and it was that night where they had just met you for the first time, and I'm trying to explain something about what you do, and somehow music licensing came up, and about copying files and sending stuff and all like that, and I guess most kids, or certain kids back then, kind of felt like that was kind of a harmless thing that you do. And you put the fear of God into my boys, because you remember what you told them?
yeah, we had just worked with I call it a case, but where a student had a full ride and he was sharing out music to his dorm, and he was going into the military, and sharing music is a federal offense. So he lost his full ride. He wasn't able to go into the military. He actually spent jail time as well as a huge fine. And you got the world by the tail and you're going this way, and then all of a sudden you're smacked back. But again, the artists have the right to protect their copyright.
Right.
And I don't think the general public wouldn't understand that normally unless you're in that arena. So when I tried to write the books and the courses, we kind of talked about it yesterday. I tried to take the legalese out and put it in a Midwest kind of language that everybody could understand and relate to, because some of the language in there is very hard. And the copyright, the Title 17 hasn't been updated. If you want to laugh, read how it talks about phono recorders, or
Oh, really?
the way it's written still to this day. So,
one of the other things that you told my boys is you can't get away with it.
no.
If somebody wants to look and find out if you have done this, they can look, and you cannot hide it. And you will not get away with it if they want to catch you.
Yep. Everything that's out on the internet is out on the internet. There's
And
no
all you got to know is how to get it.
Yep. Yeah. We got plenty of hackers for that as well. So it's a whole profession.
It's amazing when I think about. I'm a bozo when it comes to technology. I'm just a bozo, but I can go on the internet and find somebody and find out stuff about them. And I can find out their cell phone number and their email address and probably their home address and their age and their net worth and where they go to church and what their wife and kids' names are. I can find out. I can't imagine what somebody who knows what they're doing can find.
So there's a whole job out there for ethical hackers. And that's become a huge industry in itself. So, yeah, you can find just anything that's on a computer stays on the computer or in the cloud. I mean, with the cloud now,
Right.
it's accessible from anywhere. So that makes it even more scary.
Is there something that that you some knowledge you walk around with that just every other day it crosses your mind? People have no clue. People just don't have any clue. If they only knew this, what do you think?
I think we need to, and I've said this since the start of ITAM, technology, take the space shuttle. Technology put us in space, and technology took us out of space. We're with the space shuttle program. We have to understand what it is, and we have to manage it properly. Because if we don't, we have a huge risk, both in our businesses, our states, city-states, country, other countries. I work with multiple countries because it is so powerful and we are so dependent on it. There is not a business in the world that would survive without any type of technology, but yet very few actually manage it properly.
But people are figuring out they need to manage it. Mm-hmm. That's why your business almost doubled last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we have to manage that. We got to mitigate the risk, increase profitability. I mean, people don't, C-level doesn't understand how much that technology is costing companies. It's not a black hole from the 90s anymore that we just throw money in to have the latest, greatest. We have to actually manage it because it's our number one cost in business. And if you don't start reducing that, it's going to have an effect on the bottom line. And if it doesn't work right, then you have an effect on productivity. If you have 2 or 3 of the same software, first of all, you're paying for that. You're paying to maintain that. You're paying to educate employees on that. There's all kinds of soft cost related to bringing any kind of technology into a business. So we look at all that.
If your business, if you look on their client list, look on their membership list, and if your company's not on it, somebody needs to know. Somebody needs to know about it. And if you are looking for a new career, I mean, you talk about a degree that's in demand, and these are 6-figure jobs.
Oh, yeah. Back in 2002, when we started, we've done a salary survey, or practitioner survey every year. And when we started, we were about $28,000 for the average person doing this job. Now we're $150,000 plus. So that I smile about because it's a true profession.
Yeah, so that's a certification worth getting.
Yeah, we've had people that made it through layoffs because they had the certification and the knowledge. We've had clients, one I can think of that single mom, really struggling, took our certifications, and I'll shorten the story a lot, but got our master's degree through the university, went on from $30,000 and then was able to put her kids through college, buy a house, making almost $200,000 a year.
Wow. That is just awesome. That is awesome. And what a tribute to where you came from. A single mom of 50, you said 4, right? A single mom and living in an apartment with kids collating your educational stuff on a card table.
Yeah. Kitchen table. Yeah, we used to do Ring Around the Rosie and put the pages in order because I couldn't afford a copier with a collator.
Wow.
Those were the days. That was back before we incorporated. Come a long way.
You're an inspiration on a lot of levels. Personally, you're an awesome friend to me. You're a great example to me, and you're a mentor and just a dear, dear, dear friend, and like an aunt to Polly and our boys, and like a sister to Polly. So we sure appreciate you, and appreciate you being with us today.
Oh, anytime. Anytime.
Right.
I'll fly down here when it's below zero up in Ohio. Anytime. I love you. I love you that much.
All right. All right. You know, before we go, I want to hit one thing. There is a concept that you have made me aware of that I think is just one of the most life-changing concepts. And the first time I heard you say it, I wrote it down real quickly because I thought you just said it offhanded to me, but you said, Andy, remember, what's nothing to you is everything to somebody else. And so your nothing could be somebody's everything. And I wrote that down. And explain what you mean by that, because I've seen you live by that concept.
So my nothing is somebody else's everything is one of the Dr. Barb quotes out there that I do live by. You know, it's nothing for me to pick up a phone and connect people, put computers in schools or in whole towns. It's not me doing the actual work, but it was me picking up the phone and doing, connecting people. So it was nothing for me to pick up the phone, but it was everything for them. Students that were able to finish high school, parents that were able to work through the pandemic. It came about because people would say stuff, and I said, whoa, it's nothing. And it really is nothing. We all have nothing that we can do. So I encourage people to go out and do nothing. Because it changes people's lives. You may have money, but no time. You may have time, but no money. So we all have nothing that we can give.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't take a lot of effort when you're doing nothing. So you have to go out and do nothing every day. And it does change lives.
That is awesome. Well, I've seen evidence of you living by that. And the Lots Creek.
Yes.
Lots Creek in Kentucky. I mean, you overheard a phone call.
Yes.
Hearing that these people were needing help, and then you just asked, how are they set for technology? And the answer was they don't have any. So this is a community in Kentucky, and
it's in the Appalachians. It's actually the last settlement school in the U.S.
Really?
Yes.
And so they didn't have any, and you made a few calls to some of your clients and said, do you have computers you're not using? And so you you drove one of the trucks.
Well, I drove with Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan, yeah.
I didn't drive the truck, he did. But I was in the truck, yes.
3 24-foot panel trucks full of computers, and you gave it to them.
Computers, food, other items. So,
but it was nothing to you. No,
it wasn't. It was very easy. We have members that, Paul from Planet ROI.
Sure.
They refurbish, recycle computer equipment. They take back lease equipment. So I made calls out to different members that we had, and we were able to get stuff together, smart boards.
Yeah.
Able to connect them with other schools, which really helped. Systems there was one student that needed to take a class online to graduate, and he had a full ride scholarship waiting for him, but he couldn't get online to do it. So,
Wow.
And again, it was nothing. So always do nothing.
But everything to them.
Yeah, do nothing.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We'll get you back and break that tie with Michael Perry very soon. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Cat toys for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by GoatInsurance.com, representing the 3 largest insurers of fine goats everywhere. Friend, have you ever been enjoying a day minding your own business and out of nowhere, someone got your goat? Was there anything you could do about it? No, because for most of your life, your goat has been uninsured. Now, the 3 largest indemnification organizations, Goat State, Goat Farm, and Goat Flack, have combined forces to protect your personal goat from theft or injury. With a simple policy in force, your goat, should anyone get it in the future, is valued at up to $250 per offense. So protect your goat today at GoatInsurance.com. Policy invalid if goat is gotten by ex-husband or wife.